What's up, everybody? It's Chuck Diesel from ChuckDieselProductions.com. Today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about mixing secrets and little mixing tips that can make your mix just sound freaking crazy and thump like all the professionals. Now, I'm going to use this trap beat that I made for a Superstar O contest as an example of what you can do to your beat and the little things you can do to just make it sound crazy. So, I'm just going to play you a little sample. This is the sample that was given to everybody, and you can check this out. Just a little sample for right now. Check this out. All right. So that was the sample, and what I did is took it and made just a crazy beat out of it. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play this back to you. So if you don't like how the mix sounds, you can just, exit the video right now. Otherwise, you could stay and figure out what I did to make this shit so crazy. So here we go. I'm going to play probably, I don't know, a minute and a half of this. So just let it ride, baby. Let it ride.
Chuck Diesel. ChuckDieselProductions.com. You are now listening to Chuck Diesel Productions.
Now that you've heard that, when I talk about these details, you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. So to start things off, the first thing I use in making this beat, minus the instruments and minus all the other nonsense, is what I like to call the element of surprise. Now, the element of surprise is probably the most strongest thing known to mankind, just for the fact of people don't expect it. You want to do things that people don't expect. So if you notice, I had the kind of Mike Will made intro where everything's just lo-fi and everything's just kind of dull. And then it has that little drop, and it builds into a little drop with no bass. It's got a little dubstep wobble in there, and it builds up slowly all the way to the big heavy part. Now, you have to, when you think of the element of surprise, you kind of want to treat the beat as your girlfriend. Now, what I mean by that is, if you're dating a girl and every week you go out to a different place, if you want to treat her right, you go out to, let's say on this Saturday, you go out to dinner. Next Saturday, you go to the movies. The next Saturday, you go to the beach. The next Saturday, you go to Hollywood, wherever you want to do. She's fine with that, and that's what they like. They like the element of surprise, just like a listener. Now, if you take your girlfriend to Wendy's on Saturday and then take your girlfriend to Wendy's next Saturday and then next Saturday and then next Saturday, she's probably going to lose interest and get turned off by you and then completely shut you off and then leave you for someone else. Same thing with the listener. If you take the listener to Wendy's every week, the listener's probably not going to listen to your shit or buy your beats ever. Point taken. Now, the whole point of this is you want to entertain the listener. You want the person to listen to this to be like, holy shit. And you have to kind of give them the boring parts in order for them to appreciate the hard parts. Okay, so now I've opened up my mix screen, and this is where I've mixed everything, and this is where the actual shit in the beat goes down. So my next big major point I want to give to everyone, I know this sounds like it's terrible advice, but it's don't clutter your mix. You don't need to add 8,000 instruments to your instrumental to make it bang. You don't need to add 100,000 organs all layered in different octaves to make shit sound good. You just have to have a certain amount of instruments and know how to work those instruments. A good example of this would actually, if you have problems figuring out your instruments instead of layering them, go online and look for like a instrument frequency chart. They're everywhere, and they'll tell you what frequencies to put your instruments at to make them shine. That way you don't have instruments slamming on top of each other. So if you do add a couple extra instruments, it doesn't sound like a big ball of mud and crap. Now, if you look at my screen, everything that's soloed is not bust. And what I mean bust is you bus it to another channel. Or you group the instruments in another channel is what busing is. So basically, everything that's soloed is not bust. Everything else is bust. And the good part about that is you can make those certain instruments shine. That's the whole point of busing, is you make your sounds bigger and you make them more controllable as a whole. So if you have, for example, all your kick drums on one bus, and then you mix all these instruments down, you can say, hey, you know what? My kick kind of sounds like crap. And you don't have to go through in the actual mix and play with the difference between your kick and your 808 and fuck everything up all over again. You have it on one channel, and you can just edit that one channel once you get the sound you like. So you have kicks on one bus, your snares on another bus, your low-end instruments on another bus, your high-end instruments on another bus. And when I mean high and low, I mean frequency. And you can kind of group them however you want. But the best thing, the more separated you have all your instruments, the better they're going to sound. Right now, I'm playing my kicks. And what I did is I took my kicks and I bust them. All you do is go down to where your stereo out is on your kick track, and you bust it. I don't know where it is, right here. And you bust it out. So I bust this one out over here. This is bus 1, and this is my kicks. So if I play just the main riff back, it's just the kicks. So this is the kick plus the 808 combined. Now, let's say, oh, you know what? My kick is too loud in the mix. Yeah, my kick and my 808 are too loud in the mix. So what you can do is you can take this thing and turn this down, up or down, and fix it without having to go through and do the kick and the 808 at the same time. I think that was a +7. So another good point about busing is you can actually compress and EQ the kicks as a whole. And I EQ'd my kicks separate from my 808, so I don't need to, EQ them as a whole over the mix. So I'll show you my snares. So you have the kicks and the snares. Here's my snares. And they sound real big and they sound real fat because I compressed the shit out of them and EQ'd the shit out of them and added a bunch of reverb, and they just sound awesome in the mix. My low end, I have kind of like what I did is I grouped my brass together. So I have brass in this, and this is all playing over that sample. And the brass goes like this, and these are all bust, and let's see what I put on them. Just compressor and EQ. So you have two brass that are left and right that are playing kind of like a staccato pattern, and then you have one brass that's just playing the full chord stretched out, and they're all on one bus. Here we go. Okay, you get the point. The next one I grouped is my synthesizers, and these synthesizers are kind of like the real high, twangy, like arpeggio type, just wild synthesizers I threw in here. So here's just the synths. Okay, cool. So if you notice, all those instruments and all these groups sound kind of the same, which is the whole point of it. Now, I made another little bus called deep, and the deep is basically I have like a big gated echoing like a gated pad. It's like a gated pad, and it's echoing with tons of reverb. And then also on the left hand side, I have a like a dubstep type wobble bass. That's just kind of, it's not like overpowering, but it's just kind of sitting back there in the mix nice. Here's this bus. Cool. So basically, if you group all these together without any drums, they sound like this. Now that way, if there's ever any problems, you can go back and edit them as a whole. Like let's say it's, oh, it's the kick's too loud, or oh, the brass sounds too freaking loud. You can go edit all the brass and turn everything down and edit it, or oh, the brass sounds too high pitched. You can go back and edit the brass as a whole.